Okay, guys, Panzer J's back here with Operation Champ, turn number 8, January 40, US KMT. And hopefully you guys have been following along on the other guys' channels, and if so, then you saw the Japanese go on the move in the South Pacific. Those two task force markers, the one in Siam and the one outside of Sumatra, are these two, or what all the units are loaded on these two task force cards here. That's a whole lot of ships, planes, and ground units. So Madman Dan is definitely making a push here. We're sure the hammer will drop on turn number 9 coming up, and it looks like the FEC is going to be the target. And not a whole heck of a lot the FEC can do. There's just so many Japanese units. Madman Dan would have to roll absolutely historically bad for Calcutta to hold. So the one bit of good news is if the Japan does attack the Commonwealth, then that gives the U.S. 5 D12 die rolls to get to their wartime economy. So that'll be a little bit of a silver lining for the Allies. And then in Europe, Categoric Cow took the Germans and he finished off the Poles and took Warsaw. He aligned Hungary and then went into France and fairly easily took out the French. So he rolled really well, and Hambone didn't get a whole lot back in return in terms of casualties. I think the Germans really only suffered a handful of casualties taking France. And then, as usual, the German player went ahead and set up the Vichy government. And those rolls, Vichy did good with naval units. They got 2 battleships, 2 destroyers, and a submarine out of it. But the Free French did get a few ships themselves, a couple of transports, which can be valuable to move units around there in the Med. And that is what Hambone did do on the Free French turn. They also got a heavy cruiser and a sub. And then also on Hambone's Free French turn, he went ahead and took a couple of the Vichy territories. So the territories actually kind of split down the middle for the most part. But now with the Free French taking 2 territories from Vichy this last turn, the Free French actually have more than double the IPP value in territories that Vichy has. So that was also a little bit of good news. As far as the U.S. goes, I've got them at 30 IPPs. I do not believe there were any actions on the part of any nations this turn that triggered an increase to the U.S. IPP total. The guys can double check me on that and let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe that that's accurate at 30. And the next threshold the U.S. needs to hit to have some of the restraints lifted off of them is 35 IPPs. So I need a 5 or higher on my wartime economy roll here coming up. And then once I hit 35 IPPs, I can go ahead and move ships in the Pacific, build facilities in the Pacific, and place units like on the Pacific Islands and stuff. And then also in the Atlantic, I am able to go on escort duty within 3 zones of the East Coast of the United States. So a fairly big deal to hit that 35 IPP threshold. I know last turn I did it at the end of my turn. I think you're actually supposed to do it at the beginning of the turn, if memory serves. And I will do that right after my tech rolls, because depending on what I hit there, that's going to influence my purchases as well as non-combat movement. So let's get into tech first, and we have our usual 6 rolls. So we are going to shoot for jet fighters currently at stage 2 and 8 or higher, heavy bombers at stage 2, 9 or higher, long-range aircraft at stage 1, 7 or higher, strategic rockets stage 1, 9 or higher, and wartime economy and improved construction both at stage 3, and they both require a 7 or higher. So those are going to be our 6 tech rolls. Now, we only hit 2 out of 6 last turn, so I'm going to try one of the different colored dice this turn, maybe get a little bit better luck. So let's go in order from top to bottom. So that would be jet fighters first at an 8 or higher, and a 10 succeeds, so we got that one. Heavy bombers 9 or higher. A 1. Well, didn't even get close to that one. A long-range aircraft 7 or higher. A 2, so this dice isn't going so well. Strategic rockets 9 or higher. A 7, we missed that, so we're 1 of 4. Wartime economy 7 or higher. A 10, we got that. And improved construction 7 or higher. A 12, we got that. So not too bad. We got 3 out of 6, 50%. So one more better than last turn. So jet fighters goes to stage 3. And then we've got wartime economy we finish off, and improved construction we finish off. So still not great, but I suppose not horrible either. Okay, so now we're going to do our wartime economy roll. So I need a 5 or higher to hit that next threshold for some U.S. Actions. And we get a 6, so we just barely hit it, but all we needed to do is hit it. So we got a 6. So that takes the U.S. from 30 to 36. So not too bad. The first roll we had last turn, we got an 11, which was exceptionally good. And then this turn a 6, that's right on average, on a 12-sided die. Okay, so now for purchases, and especially with having both hit improved construction and that 35 IPP threshold on the production chart, we have, as the U.S., $51 to spend, and we're spending the full 51. So we are going to go ahead and lend-lease the British a fighter for 10. We are going to lend-lease the Free French a mountain infantry for 4, so that's 14. We're going to purchase a militia for 2, that's 16. We are going to start construction on 4 heavy cruisers. And with improved construction, they're $1 less, so they're 4 apiece, so that's 16. So we're up to 32. Then we're going to start construction on 5 light cruisers, and again, $1 less apiece for improved construction. They're 3 apiece now, that's 15. So that's 47. And then the last $4, we currently have a fleet carrier on the production chart at stage 3. We're going to move that up to stage 2 for $4 and spend the full $51. The KMT is going to purchase a mountain infantry for 4 and save the other $2. And that is it for purchases. So actually, before we get into non-combat, we do have one combat over here in China. So we're going to finally see some action in the civil war between the KMT and the CCP. So we are going to go into Shenxi. I believe that's Shenxi. Say that 5 times fast. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Yes, Shenxi. So there's 1 cavalry for the CCP, 3 mountain infantry, and Board Gaming Bro has 2, 4, 6, 7 militia, I believe. So defending Shenxi is going to be 7 militia, 1 cavalry, and 3 mountain infantry. And we are bringing in our 10 cavalry and I believe 8 infantry that I have in Sichuan. Okay, now I'm not crossing a river, but I am going into a mountain territory, and it's not just mountain border, it's complete mountain. So I'm going to suffer the -1 attacker penalty for the length of this battle. So I've got my 10 cavalry would normally be 3s, and they're going to be 2s. And then the 8 infantry are normally 2s, they're going to be 1s. Now let me just double check. Infantry, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep, that's correct. So we've got 8 1s and 10 2s against his 3 mountain infantry defend at 5 because they're in mountains. And then his 7 militia and 1 cavalry all defended at 2. I didn't get a list of casualties from a Board Gaming Bro prior to this battle, but I would assume he would take the militia first and then the cavalry and finally the mountain infantry. The cavalry and the militia defend the same, so I don't see why he would take the cavalry before a militia. So that's what we're going to assume. If there's any discrepancy with that, then we can change that later. And then on a roll of 10 or higher, any of my units, whether it's the infantry or the cavalry, have to retreat. Okay, so let's get some dice going. We'll come over here, take these 10 dice. Okay, I'm not putting this on the battle board. So we got everything set off, just floating in the Pacific there. So we got 10 dice, 4, 8, 10. So these are going to be our 10 cavalry. So these 10 require a 2 or less to hit, and a 10 or higher, I have to retreat. And that looks like complete and utter garbage. Okay, so we got 1 hit, a 2, and it looks like 2, 4 have to retreat. Okay, so let's take 4 off of this stack, because those are retreating. And he will lose a single militia. Okay, so now we've got our infantry. And we have 8 of those. And these require a 1. So this really is going to probably be wonderful. And as you can see, it is, because we get 0 hits again. And 10 or higher retreats, 1 of those. So 1 of our infantry retreats. So on that first round, we did a whopping 1 casualty. Okay, so now the CCP have the 7 militia and the 1 cavalry all defending at a 2 or less. So that's 8 rolls at a 2 or less. Okay, 1, 2. 2 hits. So I am going to lose 2 infantry. And then he has his 3 mountain infantry. Okay, and these are 5 or less. 2 more hits. So we are going to go ahead and retreat from that extremely futile and costly battle. So that cost me 4 infantry to do 1 militia worth of damage. How wonderful. Okay, so we are just going to retreat back into Szechuan. That was complete garbage. My first taste of KMT attack, and that was less than thrilling. I was on the fence about even doing this because I knew how weak they were, but I also figure that a Board Gaming Bro's luck has got to change at some point as far as him getting an influence roll and recruitment roll. He hasn't hit either one yet. So I'm like, well, before he gets lucky and hits something, let's go ahead and do an attack, and that was not good. So he escaped with a single militia loss. Okay, so that is it for attacks. I've learned my lesson with a KMT. Okay, so on to non-combat. So first, over in South America, we have 1 rail movement. So we're going to take 1 of our 3 infantry that's in Buenos Aires and rail them up to Rio de Janeiro. Okay. Now, as far as the United States, ship movement here in the Atlantic. So we are going to go on escort duty. So we can go out to 3 zones. So we've got 3 destroyers here in C Zone 30. So 1 is going to come out 1, 2 into C Zone 32. And that's within 3 zones of the United States. And that's going to go on escort duty, joining that British destroyer. And then these 2 destroyers, which I got to get sculpts for in place of these chips, they're going to go 1, 2 into C Zone 22, and then 1 up into C Zone 21. And both of those destroyers will also go on escort duty. Okay, let's see what else. Then we've got this fleet here in C Zone 43. So we're going to send There is a light cruiser there, a transport, and a coastal sub. So all three of those ships are going to move up one into Sea Zone 30 here. And let's see. We are also going to have this destroyer down here in Sea Zone 75. I am at a major naval base, so it's going to go 1, 2, 3. Didn't even need the movement of the naval base, and that's going to go up to Sea Zone 30 as well. Let's see, what else do we want to do? We are going to take... I'm kind of trying to decide what I want to do with the rest of these naval units. I guess we are going to take the rest of this fleet in Sea Zone 43 and come down 1, 2, 3 over to Sea Zone 103, and all those ships can move 3 or more because of the major naval base. And that marker consists of 2 heavy cruisers, 2 battleships, a fleet carrier with a fighter and a tactical. And then I guess this naval transport in 75 is going to move up 3 as well. 1, 2, 3 to Sea Zone 30. And then the light cruiser in 75 is going to come over 1 to 103 and join that fleet. And I'll let you guys know exactly what's where at the end of the U.S. turn here. Over in the Pacific, we are going to strategically naval move my transport in Sea Zone 90. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go to Sea Zone 68 off of Hawaii. This destroyer can move 4 because of the major naval base, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and go to Wake. So 1, 2, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's going to go to Wake Island in Sea Zone 66. And then these naval units here, we are going to send a destroyer from Sea Zone 29 is going to come down 1, 2 to Hawaii. A destroyer here in Sea Zone 64 is going to come out 1, 2 to Midway in 62. And then we're going to have this transport come down 1 to 64. This coastal sub in 29 is going to come down 1 to 64. And then the coastal sub in 64 can move 2 because of the major naval base is going to go 1, 2 out to Midway as well. So that should be it for the U.S. non-combat. The KMT non-combat, we've got just 1 move, so we're going to take this infantry in Hunan and move him up 1 to Shantung. And I believe that is it for non-combat. I don't believe there's anything else that... And actually, I probably should have put those destroyers in the Atlantic on escort duty and combat. They're actually... Going on escort duty is actually considered combat, so I do apologize for that as far as using... putting them on during non-combat. So that is it for combat and non-combat. So on to unit placement. So we've got our British fighter. Again, we're not at war with anybody. And we've got a path to London. So we're going to put this fighter down in London on the card there. The Free French Mountain Infantry is going to come from Washington and make its way to northern Algeria. We've got our 1 militia, which we're putting in the Hawaiian Islands. And then we've got our ships. So we've got 4 heavy cruisers, and they go down here in Stage 2. And I already had 1 heavy cruiser on the at Stage 2 already as part of the initial game setup. We'll move our fleet carrier up 1 to Stage 2. And then our 5 light cruisers we'll put down at Stage 2 as well. So now at Stage 2 on the production chart, we've got 5 light cruisers, 5 heavy cruisers, and a fleet carrier for the United States. And that's it for the U.S. And then the KMT has the mountain infantry they purchased, and that's going to go in Szechuan. Add him down there. Just knocked him over, which is symbolic of that KMT attack from earlier in the turn. And that is it for the KMT. So now on to collect income. So the U.S. spent everything they had, and they are at 36 IPP. So that's what they will collect this turn is 36. The KMT is still at 6, and they saved 2. So that'll give them 8 to spend next turn. So 36 for the United States, 8 for the KMT. So that should be it for the U.S. and the KMT here on turn number 8. Make sure you guys check out Categoric Cow. He is on a Board Gaming Bros channel for Italy's turn, and then also Germany to kick off turn number 9.